Welcome back to Building JKR's Reading World of Harry Potter by DragonflySara. That's me. Today is the first installment of the Quidditch Stadium build. First, I want to show you the original layout, or the original stadium built as I had planned based on the layout in episode 2. Then I had originally planned to do a time lapse of the real build, the one we're going to be keeping in the world. But this build took over 23 hours of recorded build time, and at replay speed that still makes a hour-and-a-half long video that is incredibly too long. So instead, in this video, we're going to look at the original build of the stadium and the two techniques that I used, the new techniques for this build. And then on the next video, we're going to take a tour of the completed stadium. Let's jump right on in there. Okay, here's the first stadium that's oriented west to east with an entrance near the school and the main gates. The stands were seating approximately 100 students, and the internationally standard Quidditch pitch, so I got the poles in a bit of the wrong orientation. But as I stated in the introduction, a lot of points in canon made this not the correct setup for the stadium. So off to the right way to do it. Okay, so here I'm figuring out how to build the hoops at the top of the stands. And I keep doing silly things like putting things on armor stands that I don't mean to because I don't have the slots disabled. I'm trying to keep these malleable at the beginning. But the important part is that I used armor stands holding blaze rods. The reason for this is because the hoops are described as thin and gold, and this was a fantastic medium for that because the blaze rods are thin and gold. And my trick then was to turn them into a cohesive unit in a hoop, in a pole, and then in the as a full goalpost. I had to do a little bit of trigonometry to figure out how far I wanted to move armor stands east, west, up, and down in order to make these north-south facing poles not have air gaps in them to make them one unit. And what you're seeing here is my playing with those positioning. I'm standing there looking at things I pull up. I summon them with the armor stand so I can count pixels to get lengths of triangles to do cosine laws and just a lot of trig. For all you kids out there watching this, yes, math does come in handy when you get out of school. And in fact, it can be very useful in your video games. We play around with this until we eventually end up with this circular looking goal hoop, which worked out really beautifully in my opinion. We get a nice even circle. I pull up a wall behind it so that I can see whether or not it's centered, and of course it isn't. So I move on into, in this next little bit, I'm going to move over and try to center my goal hoop over the command block. Okay, so right here I'm building up an iron block wall behind it so that I can see how many pixels off to the east-west I am. And when I get it centered on a iron block, I then move it over a full block to get it centered above the command block. I then put this little border around it to make sure that I was truly centered in what I was doing, and finished the hoop off to double check everything, and voila, I have a goal hoop. So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to build the post that holds up the goal hoop. And I'm using iron bars to center the post in the block, centering east to west. I'm not that concerned with north to south. If that's off by a little bit, it's not a big deal because I'm not actually given canon information on how far into the field the poles are. But what I've done is I've put a whole string of iron posts up, and then I've put iron bars, and then I put some iron bars behind a couple of them so that I knew if I was looking on straight, because I wouldn't be able to see the iron bar behind the one in front. And then I placed the blaze rods, moving the armor stand over periodically until I had them nice and centered. The last thing that I did was take it so that the first blaze rod and the second blaze rod would be orientated differently so that it wouldn't be the same colors repeating exactly over and over again. And finally, I moved one slightly in front of the other by, I think, 0.0001, so that I wasn't getting I wasn't getting the flickering as 2 pixels of different colors tried to appear in the same block. And it took me a couple of tries, but it certainly came out to my liking, and I decided to implement that moving them forward and backward in the hoop as well. Finally, I needed to make a 15-meter tall hoop in its entirety, goal in its entirety, with the post going up and then the hoop appearing somewhere within the 15-meter height range. I'm not told whether this 15 meters is to the base of the goal, or if the 15 meters is to the center of the goal, or if the 15 meters is to the top of the goal. So I figured I was allowed to do what I liked, and this is what I ended up with. The post is 15 meters tall with the goal sort of sitting on top of it. As you know, with command blocks, you can summon in the armor stand into an existing block. So I was able to put bases at the bottom of the posts when I got them all done by placing the base and then summoning in the stand. And after I got the hoop centered on the pole, or the hoop was already centered and the post was centered, so the goal was centered, and after I got the height done, voila! I didn't bother to finish the entire build of the goal post because I figured after I got the beginning of the hoop in, if it was working out, it would work out the rest of the way around as well. Okay, everyone, we're in the testing world, and what I'd like to show you here is the way that I made the different sized balls flying around the Quidditch pitch. So, as you know, the quaffle is the largest ball. It's a large, red, seamless leather ball, 12 inches in diameter. The bludger is a round, jet black iron ball, 10 inches in diameter. And the snitch is about the size of a walnut. What I've used here is the custom head for the snitch for all of the size examples. And what I've got are armor stands actually floating up here. So as you see with armor stands, we can actually create 4 different sizes of blocks. And if I turn around here and show me, you can see that I'm wearing a helmet. I don't know why. Okay. You can see how I stack up, how a person stacks up to each of these quote-unquote balls. So the quaffle is about the size of my head, so I would put that at 12 inches. Right there on that one. And this one, the second one, is a little bit smaller, but not quite walnut, but smaller than the quaffle, a little smaller than my head. I was thinking this would be a good size for the bludgers. And the next smallest I can do wasn't quite small enough for the snitch because You can see here it's about the size of my hand, not a walnut. But this cute little dude here is definitely, looks like it would sit in the palm of my hand, so that qualifies as a walnut size. Okay, so to make each of these, what I used was a command block to summon an armor stand. And we summon the armor stand. This is in 112, the correct code for 112. And we set where we want the armor stand to show up. And then I told it to be invisible, invulnerable, so it can't be hurt, damaged, persistent. You know what, I'll have something typed up on the screen to say what that is because I really haven't figured it out yet. I'll look it up. I took the base plate off, which I guess doesn't matter if it's invisible, but I do it on all of my armor stands in the wizarding world. No gravity means that it doesn't fall to the ground when I place it 4 blocks in the air. Showing arms allows me to put things in its hand, which is useful on the smaller sizes. And then for these first two, I have these armor items. So I have a skull, just one skull, as the helmet. So the armor items are, I think it's chest, legs, boots, and then helm. And so the idea is a skull, and the tag is skull owner, and this is where I put in the ID information and the property information for the custom head. I'll have these commands down in the comment section. And then disabled slots here at the end means that you can't take anything off of the armor stand or put anything onto it or replace anything on it. So for this one and this one, we're using it as a helmet. The reason they're different sizes is because this one includes an extra tag. If I scroll through the NoBasePlate, NoGravity, ShowArms, but this right here, small 1B, this makes the armor stand small, about the size of a baby zombie. So that's how you end up with the smaller, the second size. For the third size down, you're using the regular sized armor stand, so there's no small in here, but instead of having the skull in the armor, there's no armor, instead there are hand items. And in the hand is a skull, the custom head. And that means that the armor stand is holding the custom head. And then again, the disabled slots keeps, don't want to do that. The disabled slots keep you from replacing what's in his hand. I can't actually pick this up. I can't do anything to this. I broke the block behind it. I can't break it. The final size, the one we ended up using for the snitch, is the head in the hand again, and this time on the small armor stand. So we reduced him to the size of a baby zombie, and then we put the custom head in his hand. So 4 sizes of balls. By using the correct custom head on each one, I was able to put the different balls on the field, and I put some extra custom heads in chests around the field for the for the Quidditch teams to use to practice and to play. Okay, so next time we will take a tour of the completed Quidditch Stadium. Be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons, and if you haven't already, check me out on Planet Minecraft, where you can download the world as we complete each series. I will see you soon.